Hello snowboarders of the internet, I'm your host Avran LeFeber, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Nidecker blade. This board features good old-fashioned traditional camber, so from contact point to contact point you have that arc of traditional camber that's going to give you the load, pop, snap, and drive of this snowboard. I rode this board at Arapahoe Basin on a day that was a mix of clouds, sun, fresh snow, high winds. You kind of had a couple of inches on top of corduroy. There's some chop and chender, a little bit of ice in spots, and I rode it with my Rome Black Label bindings and my K2 Thraxis boots. This board is available in 158 and 162 wide. The big thing to note with this board is that it's not overly stiff, it's just highly responsive due to the camber and the construction of it. If anything, it comes in just past a middle of the road. What you do get is a slightly softer nose, and then it just progressively stiffens back up through the tail with a little bit of torsional flex. One thing to note about the stability of this board is you do get chatter in the nose that resonates back underfoot, but even when you're just like flat basing, you start to feel all the kinetic energy in this board right underfoot. It's just so lively and responsive that it chatters at high speed. You can just feel those vibrations going up through your binding into your foot. This board has some of the most unique snap I've felt in a long time in any snowboard. While you do have to load that camber section up to get it to engage, when you roll back on the tail to just pop off of it and get it to disengage, a lot of that has to do with the short tail and how abrupt it is, as well as the contact point isn't as big as other boards. It's one of those decks that once you're on that tail, it wants to just disengage and snap. It's not the most mind-blowing snap that I've been on. It's just unique in how it disengages. If you're one of those guys that's used to riding a traditional camber board with regular contact points, you're going to be like, whoa, what the hell's going on? But if you've never ridden anything like this, you're going to be like, oh, okay, this is normal. It's not, by any means. All right, so let's talk about what this board was designed for and how it's a unique ride. This board can carve, but there's something you need to be aware of. Due to the reduced tip shapes, the contact points aren't as big, so you've got these smaller contact points. And I noticed when I was really laying this board over and just trying to drive from the center of the board back through the tail would kick out and disengage. It was one of those boards that if I was being really abrupt with it, it would kick out. It's when you're doing those big swoopy carves from one side of the trail back to the other that it stands out. It wants to rail a pencil thin line that way. When you're doing short, tight, quick, hard setup carves, sometimes that tail would kick out. It's something, as I've said, you've got to be aware of. If you know how to carve, you're not going to have a problem with this board. You just have to be aware that it doesn't have the same edge bite as other boards. It's a very unique ride in that regard, and it works for what it is because this board is absolutely phenomenal for carving, but it's just not going to be what a lot of people think it really is. It's just so unique because of that abrupt tail kick and how small that contact point is on the nose and the tail that the dynamic of your carve will change. The cool thing about this is when you're doing like ankle steering in the midst of a carve, you can really change how you drive it with little effort. It's just that responsive to those micro adjustments and micro movements in your ankles. Who's this board for? The resort carver. This board is a super unique ride. It's a very niche type of board, and it's not going to be for everyone. Those that are actively seeking it out, they should understand what they're getting into, but for someone that's just coming along and looking at it, it's probably not going to be what they're looking for. This has one of the smoothest disengagements of a carve I've ever felt in any board. It's really unique in how it does it, but it also doesn't feel as locked in as other boards that I've ridden. There's nothing wrong with it because I think this is one of those boards that the people that know what they're getting, as I've said, know. And those that don't are like, okay, what's going on here? Overall, is it for everyone? No. Is it for a specific person? Yes. Comparable boards, the Amplid UNW8, the Nitro Pantera. Binding recommendations, the Nidecker K-On X, the Roan Cleaver, the Burton Cartel X. This has been my review of the Nidecker blade. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you own one? Are you going to buy one? leave me a comment down below. Let's have a conversation about this snowboard. If you're new here, remember to subscribe, click the bell, get those notifications. That way you're not missing any of the videos we got coming out for all you snowboarders of the internet. And if you really like what we're doing over here and you want to support us further, swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member. Sure, I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. As always, I've been your host, Avran LeFeber, and I'll see you in another video.